This module we're going to add some security at layer 2 to our network. You say, why would I want to do this? Let's say that you're the network administrator at a technical college and you have your room set up with your own computers that have antivirus on them, up to date. All of the patches are installed, up to date. You've checked the machines, maybe imaged them recently. You know that they are up to date and secure. So a student comes in with his laptop. I don't like the wireless because I can't get on the network, get on my home directory, whatever else. All I can do is get on the internet, and decides to unplug the RJ45 from your secured computer and plug in his laptop that has 47 different viruses on it. What port security is going to do for us is to prevent that. Or the back we talked about, somebody plugged a switch in, and then maybe they want to put multiple devices on it, or somebody brings in their wireless access point, and these things do happen. Plug it in and you only want their company machine on that port. What port security is going to do is allow us to restrict which machines can be connected to a port and how many can be connected to a port. First I want to do again the PowerPoints and then do a demo of how to do it and what each of these things are. So what is it? We're going to restrict the number of devices connected to an access port. We use the MAC address to specify which devices can connect, and we know that the MAC address is going to be unique, or we hope it's going to be unique. Determines which frames to filter by using 3 basic methods. Limit the specific MAC addresses that can be allowed to send and receive frames. Limit the number of MAC addresses, or all the above. We can limit which MAC addresses and how many can be configured on a port. Can control the local or forwarded devices that are allowed to go into through our switch. The types of MAC addresses that we have, and we will look at these hopefully a little bit, sort of what we have here, and then we'll look at what they are when we do the demo. The static secure is where we manually type in the MAC address. Stored in the address table, added to the configuration file. Problem here, unless you're a whole lot better typist than I am, is going to be typing errors, that we make a mistake as we type in the MAC address. Dynamic secure addresses are detected by the port, and we've seen that when we looked at how the MAC table was built. Does a similar thing here. Looks at the source MAC address. The issue here is that if we have a power failure, something happens, the device gets restarted, then the devices are removed. They're no longer available on the switch. And the timeout value, for remember the default time 300 seconds, 5 minutes for how long something stays in the MAC table. The other one is called a sticky secure. It detected like the dynamic address, but then it's added to the running configuration file. Doesn't have a timeout, and we can save it to the startup configuration file so that if we have that power failure, so for some reason the device gets restarted, then the MAC addresses remain in the configuration, get reloaded into the device. Port characteristics. Where can we and where can't we? We cannot apply it to dynamic ports, and as you know, all the ports at startup by default are going to be dynamic ports, so we have to go in and configure them with a switch port mode access. Use the switch port security command to activate, and then use the switch port security command to configure it. What this is saying is we've got to give this switch port security command twice, basically. The defaults are one MAC address is allowed per port. It does dynamic address detection, and it has a violation mode, and the violation mode is shutdown, so that it shuts down the port if the MAC address itself is wrong, or we have too many MAC addresses on it, the port. Voice VLAN, access ports only, and we can allocate more addresses for the voice VLAN. If we have the voice VLAN, we're obviously going to need at least two, one for the telephone and one for the computer, the MAC addresses for them. So if you're doing this on a voice VLAN, you have to take that into consideration. The violation actions, when the maximum number of connections is exceeded, or we connect the wrong MAC address to the port. We have the different actions here. Protect drops the packets from the source address until they'll reduce the number of connected devices or get the correct one there. So it just drops the packets. Restrict does the same thing as protect, but it increments the security violation counter and sends a syslog message, and that's NMP trap is generated, so it'll give us a notification in addition to dropping the traffic. Shut down, the default action puts the port in what's called an error disabled state. It's disabled because of an error, and it sends an SNMP trap message. It shuts the port down so that no traffic is there, and it goes into them. Recovery, we have a normal recovery, and when we want to recover from these things, first we have to reduce the number of devices or unplug the improper MAC address device. Go into the interface fast Ethernet 0/1 and give it the shutdown command, and then give it the no shutdown command, bounce the interface. So we have to manually shut it down and then manually bring it back up with the no shutdown command. Error disable recovery command allows for automatic restoration, and in that I'll go back to this one. If we configure it, we have to specify what the error that we want to automatically recover from is, and then how long we want to wait before it attempts to do the recovery. You have to correct the issue. We have to, if we have too many devices, we have to reduce the number of devices. If we have the wrong device plugged in, we have to get the correct device plugged in. The error disable causes a whole litany of causes here. Duplex mismatch, port channel, BPDU guard, a number of things that we haven't talked about. Late collision detection, link flap. Security violation is one of the multitude of problems that can cause an error disabled state. And then when we do the auto recovery, discover the cause, console messages, syslog, show the error disable recovery command, and then we can correct the problem. It will automatically connect or correct the problems that we specified in the times that we specified. So what is port security? It's where we limit the number of devices, the number of MAC addresses, or specify explicitly which MAC addresses can be on an individual switch port. Configure it. We configure auto security. Switch port, port security has to be enabled, and then we have to configure the number of MAC addresses, the explicit MAC addresses, and what action we're going to have if there's a violation. And then the recovering, the manual is the shutdown, no shutdown, auto recovery, auto error disable. We fix the problem, and then it will automatically recover from it. So the next thing that I want to do is, and we'll do it next in a separate recording, is do a demo of how to set up and what happens when we configure port security.